Welcome back to the show. I am here with Mr. Dan Schwartz, a former Nevada State Treasurer, and now he is running for US Congressional District 3. Here is one of his cards that if you wanted to learn more, please come to www.danfornevada.com to learn more about the candidates. Mr. Schwartz, during your term as a treasurer, as a state treasurer, there is a 2015 budget debate, and during those times there is some controversials going on. Could you share with us some of the detail of that debate?
Sure. As you may or may not recall, in when we were elected, I was elected in 2014, took office in 2015. Governor Sandoval proposed a $1.2 billion tax hike, which was the largest tax hike in Nevada history. And I think he was sure that absolutely no one would object. And there were a number of us who did. And we objected because not only was it the largest tax hike, but as a businessman, I know that you just can't dump $1.2 billion into any system, whether it's a government or business, and expect it to work. So, I made my objections known. And, the backstory is that one of my colleagues delivered the news to the governor at his home on Saturday afternoon, and he was unhappy. So they came up with a fake hearing. And I had a 3-page outline, which, of course, because I was opposing the governor, he made this seem like I had 3 pages of whatever that was opposed to his 3,200-page budget. It's entirely made up, but, obviously he was upset. So, my issue was he was nominally going to use this for education, okay, and education is probably my top priority. And if you were to look at that as an issue, it really is at the bottom of what a lot of things are wrong with this country today. And I didn't object to the education, but it just, I said, as a businessman, you start slowly, you see how it works, and you go. Right. So he had a fake hearing, and probably, I won't mention his name, probably the most unpopular Republican in the country came in and put on a show. But we were right. When I was there, Nevada was ranked number 51 out of 50. And we've now rocketed up to 50 out of 50. So Nevada has an education problem, and I think the United States does in general, but in particular we do here. So, sure. Am I embarrassed? No. I called out the governor. He should have been called out. Instead, he threw a temper tantrum, and we are where we are today.
So you must have some tie with the Asian communities, because your wife, Yuna, is from she is Chinese. Yunan is Chinese. So did you have any plan to work with the Asian communities if you get elected this time?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can say when I got out of the military in 1974, I decided to take a trip around the world. Wow. I owed it to myself.
Sure.
And that was really my first exposure to Asia. I went overland. I took what was called the hippie route. So it was an incredible trip. You couldn't do it today. We went through Iran, Afghanistan, through India, then Ceylon, Sri Lanka, up the Malay Peninsula from Singapore to Thailand, then over to Hong Kong. China wasn't open, so I went to Japan. And I was absolutely fascinated. It was a different world than what Asia is today. So again, I've been somewhat fortunate. I took a job with Daiwa Shokin, Daiwa Securities, and then when we bought into the Journal, I moved to Hong Kong. So Asia is very much my second home. And we did events, we did conferences, and ABCJ was really a Pan-Asian publication and conferences. I met my wife. I won't go into the details. We met on a blind date in Beijing, and that was well, it was almost 15 years ago. So we've been married for, I think, 8-9 years now. So yeah, I very much admire the Asian communities. You know, certainly all of them. You know, China is a vast country. I think something like 42 different dialects. I don't know how many provinces. My daughter and I took a trip to Vietnam, which was pretty incredible. But I've been in India, I've been in the Philippines, I've been in Taiwan, Japan certainly, and Singapore, Thailand. So yeah, I admire the Asian community, and you know, hope to do what I can for them.
Well, as you know that the Asian Pacific Islander here in the state has grew to very a large number. So, and then the Asian community itself is very different from any others. They may have some needs, and they may have some services that cater to the Asian community. And you see, even in here in Las Vegas, the growth of the Asian community is just exploded. Mm-hmm. So, you have any plan if you get elected, to help those investment from outside of the country coming into the city and the state, or any other plan that you may have in mind?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm. I think that the Asian community, and again, it's a very diverse community.
Sure.
I used to kid people when I first moved to Hong Kong, is that the term Asia was a European's name for everything over there. and it's 16 different countries, at least 16 different languages.
Right.
So I think, certainly, in Nevada, the different communities have progressed at different rates. My one comment, and my wife has said this, is that a lot the Asian community as a whole, and whether that's the Chinese or the Japanese or the Vietnamese, are reluctant to get involved in politics. And
exactly,
right. Yeah, and I would love to see that change. In other words, they're dedicated, they're extremely bright, they're hardworking, and if I could do one thing, certainly on the investment side, I don't think the Asians need my help. I mean, they're very good at that, but I would really encourage members of the Asian community to run for office and to get involved in politics.
Yeah, with your background is in investment and banking, I think that there is a lot of opportunity for, especially for the Asian countries, to invest it here in Nevada. But let me ask you a question that
Sure.
Since you are doing so well in your life, and you are a very successful business entrepreneur, what made you run this time?
Well, your question's a good one, and one that I've been asked. And
Right.
The answer to your question is yes. I could just simply, most of my classmates are all taking trips to the Rhine or to Japan, and I'm a great believer that I have been very fortunate. And just as I felt when I went in the Army, I could have gotten out of the service, but I owe this to the community. And I also think very specifically, I think that our political leadership in this country is not what it should be. And I think I've been reasonably successful and competent, and my goal is to do in DC what I did in Carson City. I mean, no one thought we'd do anything as state treasurer. We did a lot, and there are a lot of things I'd like to do in Washington. Why don't we have an immigration bill? Why don't we have a health care bill? I mean, we have Obamacare, but it's got some weaknesses. Why not fix that? I'm a healthcare, as I said, education. This country's education system needs a top to bottom review, and we just haven't done it. And I think everyone says, well, it's politics. Well, that's not why. If I am elected, that's not why I'm going to be elected. People don't want to know about politics. They want to know what I've done. and that's why I want to do it.
Right. So if you have, I know that there's several issues that it's motivate you to run, but what is the number one issue that you really wanted to accomplish when you get into the office?
I think there's probably two or three. I think number one, I'm a great believer in the free market, private initiative, free market system, entrepreneurship. And I just find it extremely distressing that the Democrats have a bunch of socialists who are leading their party. And whether it's Nancy Pelosi, whether it's Bernie Sanders, whether it's Elizabeth Warren, that's not who we are as a country. That's not why we're successful. America has been and still is the land of opportunity, and to destroy that is wrong. Now, I'm not saying that we don't need any fixes. We do, but I think that's number one. I want to reinvigorate our free enterprise, our free market system. Two, education. I saw it in Nevada, and with all due respect to our current governor, he's just rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic, and we need to educate people. I had when I ran for governor, I had a 4-point program. One of them was preschool education, pre-K education. We should have the young minds are like sponges. Why don't we take advantage of that? 2 is to improve our teachers. Okay. 3 is tracks. In other words, not everyone wants to go to college. Not everyone can go to college. So why not begin to, in the early grades, I don't think we should be like France and say, okay, you're going to PhD and you're going to be a carpenter, but there are kids who are good at it, and they should be taught that. And number 4, parental involvement. Why don't we do these things? And we don't. And then finally, as I said, yeah, is parental involvement, and get the parents involved. So lots of things to do there. And healthcare. Why don't we? This has kind of fallen off the charts now. I mean, each side wants to elect their president. I want to re-elect President Trump. The Democrats want to get rid of Trump. And I think this election is really going to be about that. I think it's going to be a vote on the president. And I don't see. Again, I'm going to stay away from politics, but. Why do we want to undermine the very foundations of probably the most successful country in the world? And I don't think we want to do that.
Well, thank you so much for spending the time with us, and thank you so much for the gift here.
Right.
We wish you the best in your campaign. Last message to the audience before we ended this segment.
My last message is I think there's going to be a very important election. It's going to be a choice between a country that I believe, our country, the United States, which I believe is the most successful in the world. Sure, we have problems. We need to fix them. We need to fix them in a bipartisan way. And a party that really is, and whether it's my Democrat opponent in CD3 or whether it's the party at large, that effectively wants to undermine the foundations of our country. And I think it's certainly going to be up to the electorate to make that decision. I hope they will select a democratic, market-driven economy which makes the changes it needs to, but not to change the fundamental principles of our country.
Thank you so much, Dan, and thank you so much for watching the show. I look forward to see you again in the next episode. Thank you.